Okay, Mom. Welcome to the spooky Halloween edition episode of Okay Mom podcast.
Extra episode just for you guys.
Welcome. And you're welcome. Listen, since we put out this extra content for you, y'all know what to do. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Yes. Tell a friend to subscribe to this YouTube channel. We're trying to make our way to mission 25K, make it happen. Because you know, when you do make it happen, things like this happen. This is our teaser for you. When we hit 25K, you know you're getting the extra content. You know it's going to be fun. You know it's going to be some reviews, some fun things. I'm going to make Hina do some fun things on camera. Y'all know.
Why is it always me?
It's always Hina. It's always Hina. Please rate us and follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. 5 stars, preferably, please. And follow us on socials, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Speaking of Facebook,
we're
gonna do deep dive. You ready? Buckle up.
Buckle those seat belts, baby. A lot of bees. Maybe someone named Bobby. Maybe this episode is about a certain Bobby Jandu.
Mitta Bobby.
Mitta Bobby. That is the topic of today, guys. Get your seatbelts on. If you don't know what we're talking about, get in the car right now. Okay?
Please keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times.
Absolutely. Let's get started. Let's roll.
Let's go.
So the other day, got a couple of messages in our DMs. You guys need to watch this TV show or this documentary called Sweet Bobby.
Yeah.
And I was like, the hell is this?
Yeah.
The hell is this? What is this? What is this? Your girl sat down in front of the Netflixy, okay? And I watched it. And Lord, it was just not for the faint of heart, okay? For anyone that hasn't seen it, there's going to be mad spoilers right now. But anyway, because I saw it, then I met Uruje and then I was like, I'm going to give you the breakdown because I couldn't hold it in, okay? Then I gave her the breakdown. Then she started listening to the podcast.
So there is a 1-hour Netflix series and there is a 6-episode podcast series. Okay. So the 1-hour Netflix series I watched and I was like, yeah, it's all good. It's all good. It's go. I pass. Why? Because the podcast.
I started the podcast.
Let me tell you,
it's
episode
detailed.
5 and episode 6, the way that it actually encompasses the story and gives you the little ribbon at the end of the story that you need that Netflix didn't do. Netflix left you on a cliffhanger.
Netflix left us hanging.
They're just like, she gives all these details. Okay. Before we begin, let's bring it back. What is it about? Hina?
Okay, guys. So basically, it is this girl, this Desi Punjabi kudi. Bichadi to the max.
Bichadi to the max.
Okay. Living in the UK. Okay. She has obviously like the Sikh community is like very close knit. Okay. The Punjabi community is very close knit there. And because of like family ties, friendship ties, she starts talking to this guy named Bobby. Okay. And Bobby. Okay. And then his younger brother had been dating her cousin. So she was like, oh, okay. Like everybody kind of knows each other. So he messages her on Facebook Messenger. Worst place to message anybody, let me just say.
Fox.
And then they start this conversation. And initially he was married. Then he like got separated, divorced. Then he got married again. And then, you know, it's just a little bit of a roller coaster. And then she initially was just like, it was like a friendly talk, friendly banter. And then it kind of became something a little bit more where it was like, oh, he's like telling me about his like the struggles in his life and how his marriage isn't working and all this stuff. And then eventually, you know, he tells her that he's getting married again. And then he introduces her to his wife on Facebook. And then his wife starts talking. And then he introduces her to all these friends of his. And then they all start talking together. And so now she knows all these people. And then eventually what happens is that now he says when he gets married to this girl, the girl one day is like, oh my God, he's been shot. Okay. He's been shot and he's in like a coma or something. She's like, oh my God, my friend's been shot. Okay. So she's panicking, hasn't been able to get in touch with him. She's calling her cousin. Her cousin's like, okay, he's stable. It's fine. Like he's doing much better. And then they move him over to witness protection, guys. Witness protection in New York City. Okay. So Brother Bobby is in New York under witness protection. And then she's trying to talk to him and, you know, he's really struggling. And then eventually what happens is that at some point, his relationship with his wife disintegrates and they break things off. And then he just kind of is like, oh, you know, the girl who he's talking to, her name is Girat. He's like, Girat, you're like the only person in my life. And like, oh my God, like there's no one else that I can rely on. And then he's like telling her things like, I love you. And I really, really like you. And she's just like, what the hell are you saying? Like, I don't even know if this is accurate. And then in the middle of all that, he has a stroke. Okay. So at this point, it's like, he can't even really talk because his like voice is impaired. Okay.
He's paralyzed and his voice box has been affected.
Yeah. So he can't talk. So they are still chatting on Facebook Messenger. And then, you know, eventually like it kind of becomes a little bit of a romantic relationship where he's like, yeah, like I really want to be with you. And then she says, you know, she's like, yeah, I kind of want this as well. And so they're kind of, it's romantic. Things are being said. Okay. Things such as, I want to have your babies. Okay. So these conversations are going on. And then they have Skype messages, like they have Skype calls, but like you can't, there's no pictures being shown. It's just she's talking to him and then he would respond with like, because his voice box was messed up, with like grunts and like he would have like a different like voice because of his voice box. So then this went on for like a good like 8-9 years. And
it was to the point where she had also introduced him to her family members. He spoke to her mom, her aunt, her cousins, and all these things. And so because it was getting really real, and he was like, I want to marry you. This is going to happen. Okay. I'm going to come back to the UK and this is going to happen. And he would make all these plans, right? I'm coming now. And every time he would decide to come to the UK, something would happen, some sort of a health related issue. And then
some issue, because
she was so connected to his network online, like his doctor would be messaging her, his like lawyer is messaging her like, hey, this is the update. Hey, this is what we're going to do now. Hey, I'm going to file for this case. And it was very much like it wasn't just that she was having this romantic relationship with somebody online. She was so connected to his world online in different aspects. Okay. Then what happens?
Then one day he messages her and he drops a freaking atomic bomb and he's like, hey, lover, I'm gonna have a baby. Okay. And she's like, the flip. And then after that, he's like, oh yeah, you know, it's the girl that I was married to. Like, I didn't know that she was pregnant, but she's having this baby. And she is obviously pissed off. But because she has been raised to be a good, upstanding, desi kuri, she's like, koi gal nahi, I'm gonna go, I'll be a great mother to your kids. Let me be there for you. It's not your fault. Whatever happened in the past happens. I still love you, you still love me, yada, yada, yada. So then him and her, they would like pick baby clothes together. He would send her pictures of the baby. They would decide on what the baby's name should be. And that's what the baby's name was. And so they had all these conversations. And then eventually it was just like, okay, like, I need to see you at this point. Like now it's getting ridiculous. It's been years. He also kind of became like very controlling and he was like, I don't want you to work anymore. Like, or not, I don't want you to work, but like you interact with a lot of men when you're working. So like, I don't like that. Why are you doing that? And then her health started to deteriorate because she was so focused on him. So she started to isolate herself and shut herself off from all of her friends and family and just focus on him. And then she would just be like crying and being like, oh my God, why are you doing this to me? Like, why do you like always torture me like this and stuff like that? And
there were many times in the relationship when she tried to get out of the relationship. So she would say, listen, I'm done. I've had enough of this. I don't want to do this anymore. And then everybody in the network would be like, no, he loves you. He loves you. He loves you. His mental health is really like delicate right now. This, that. There would be a bunch of conversations between everybody saying, no, stay with him.
Yes,
He's amazing. He loves you. Stay with him. And then what had ended up happening was one day he finally came. Guys, at this point, it's years into this, like 3-4 years in this relationship. She's quit her job, okay? She's moved back in with her parents. She has like no life. All she does is get up, like eat. She's on the phone with him, Skype, Facebook is open.
He is her world.
Pictures. She'll wake up, take a selfie, send it to him. And like in those selfies, you can just tell it's so forced. She didn't look happy in any of these images. And you get to see all of this on that Netflix show, right? And then he's like, I'm coming to the UK. And she's like tracking his flights, okay? So she's like, oh my God, he's this many hours away. He's this many hours away. Flight lands in the UK, right? And she's like, I'm coming. Where you at? I'm coming. And he's like, I don't want to see you right now. I don't want to see you right now. And all of a sudden it comes out that he's like battling this cancer.
Is that what it was?
He's battling this cancer and he's not ready to see her right now.
They did not say that in the documentary.
These are the details that you are missing in the podcast. So he's battling this cancer. He's not ready to see her.
Yeah.
And she knows what hotel she's at. So she scurries on over. Skirt. Gets to the hotel room, goes to the front desk, says his name. They're like, and at this point, it's been a few weeks, a few months now. And they're like, there's nobody here that's staying with that name. And she's like, check again. She's given some nickname. She's given the last name. She's giving everything. And they're like, there's nobody here with that name. And she's walking out of the hotel room. And as she's walking out, Bobby calls her and is like, I told the front desk that I don't want to see anybody. So why did you come?
Ooh,
okay.
Bobby.
So he was literally the kind of person in a relationship that would always make it your fault.
Yeah.
You want to see me? Too bad. But don't come and see me. It's going to be your fault if you come.
Oh, yeah.
You're hurt and you're crying. Well, that's on you. That was what the relationship took a turn once that honeymoon phase was over, it was just controlling and abusive. Okay. And then this is also what they didn't show in the Netflix series. She was very fed up. She was very frustrated. She secretly hired a PI.
No, they did say that in the...
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
She hired a PI.
So she hired a PI and she got his address. She's like, I didn't want to know any other information. I just wanted to get his house address. She gets the house address.
But it was because she thought that he was with his ex-wife. That's why. Okay, continue.
Lo and behold, she gets the address. And where's the address?
The ex-wife!
At the ex-wife's house. So
spicy.
In her mind, she's like, everything that I've been thinking is absolutely true. This man is toxic. He's holding me in this relationship, hostage in this relationship, while he's living chum with his ex-wife and his son. Okay. So one day she's driving down. She messages him. She's like, I'm just going to go for a drive. Where does that drive lead her?
An hour and a half away to his ex-wife's house.
His ex-wife's house. He goes there. She's walking up to the sidewalk. She goes up those steps. She rings that doorbell. Ding. Okay. Guess who opens that door? It's Mr. Bobby himself.
Bobby opens the door. Bobby. Okay.
And the thing is, she actually turned around and walked away because she was so nervous and she felt like he didn't really want to know what was going on. And then Bobby opens the door, sees her walking away. And then she turns around and comes back up. And now she's furious.
Because Bobby's wife is right behind him with their son.
So now she's like, it's me, Kirat. And he's like, who?
Ooh!
It's the who.
It's the who.
And so she is freaking out. She's like manic at this moment. She's saying, no, but this is Sanj and this is this person and this is that person and you, whatever. And this is your son's name and this is your address and this is da-da-da-da and whatever. And she shows him his pictures on her phone. And now he's freaking out. He's like, how do you know all of this stuff? His wife is like, who is this person at my door?
Who this? Okay.
And then while they are having this tit for tat at his front door, Bobby calls her on her phone. Okay. So Bobby's calling her on her phone and he's like, look, that's my picture. That's not my number.
Yeah.
But at this point, the ex-wife had gone upstairs. So she thinks that both of them are in on it and that the ex-wife is calling her from upstairs. And so she doesn't pick up and she turns on, she walks away. She calls one of her cousins and she's like, listen, I showed up here. And a lot of her cousins know about Bobby. Yeah. They even spoke to him. So like one of the cousins is even on the Netflix show. They show her. Yeah. She's like, yeah, I spoke to him. Yeah. Voice notes, this, that, whatever. Okay. So she calls up one of her cousins and she's like, I'm, freaking out. And then Bobby, the real Bobby, turns around and goes, who is that? And she's like, it's my cousin Simran. And he's like, the only Simran I know is somebody who dated my younger brother years ago. And she's like, yeah, this is that cousin. And he's like, let me talk to her. Takes the phone from Kirat, talks to Simran. And Simran on the other line goes, listen, she's just not in a great state right now.
She's confused.
Let her calm her down. Let her get back in her car. I'm going to meet her. Let me handle the situation. Gives her back the phone. Simran is like, calm down. Let's meet. Okay. So they meet, freaking out. Okay. Kirat doesn't know what to do. The whole night goes by. Did you know this? So the whole night goes by. Nobody says a word. Nobody says anything. But the real Bobby went and called the cops.
Yes.
Okay. So he calls the cops and he's like, listen, this is what's going on. And they're like, okay, so you hold on. Let's just figure out what's going on. Because clearly your identity has been stolen.
Yeah. Facts.
And then the whole night goes on. And then the next morning, Simran, who is the cousin, was supposed to go and meet Kirat at her house.
Yes.
And Kirat said she was going to come and work from home.
Yes.
So Simran was going to come, and she's like, she's never really late or whatever. So I'm the whole, she's super late and I'm getting so anxious and I don't know where she's. I keep calling her phone. She's not coming. She's not coming. And then she's like, I look out the window and she's outside in the car with her brother.
Yep.
Okay. So she's like, what's going on? And she's like, I can tell that they're clearly arguing in the car. And she's like, then Simran gets out of the car. She's like, she's in her sweats. Casual. And she's like, I thought she was going to work from home. Like, I'm very confused. But she comes in and Simran looks at Kirat and says, listen, I don't think I should come inside. And Kirat is like, what are you even talking about? This is really weird of you. Can we just like, whatever? And she's like, all she says to me, she's like, it was me.
Shameful.
Guys, this whole time, it was Simran.
Like 8 or 9 years. It was 8 or 9 years.
It was probably, I'm going to say a decade.
I think it was 9 years.
Yeah.
Because she's like, she started talking to him when she was in her early 30s. Like she was 30.
Yeah.
And then when it ended,
29. She was like 29.
Something like that. And it ended in her like late 30s. And this entire time, it was the cousin who faked it. The cousin made 60 different accounts, guys, on Facebook.
That's crazy. Oh my God.
Sent her pictures of Bobby. And then she would also guide her to like help her pick the outfits that the baby had already worn and then send her those pictures of the baby.
Yeah.
And then the cousin, when Bobby was talking to Kirat, the cousin was like, oh yeah, or Bobby was like, I'm going to send a t-shirt of mine with my cologne on it and your cousin will drop it off to you because I know that she said that, oh yeah, I'm going to be in New York on this day for a work trip. And then she actually met up with her and dropped the t-shirt off to her. Then Kirat took a picture of herself wearing the t-shirt. Y'all.
It was
treacherous.
Crazy. And like, toxic cousin is not even the right title for this story.
Honest to God, Uruje, like, remember I was telling him, like, maybe banned Bajki? Like, I'm not even joking.
Okay, can we just break it down? I'm so sorry. I know this is going to be a really long episode.
It's all
this,
good.
but we got to break it down. Okay. So Simran was 17 at the time that this happened. Okay.
What the hell?
She made 60 different Facebook accounts.
The most Villia.
And the way that she made it is, guys, she would take pictures and she would make these accounts look so real. And then she would friend one another. So it looked like they had
Everyone
a good
had mutual friends.
You have 120 friends on Facebook. 30 of them are mutual. So you're looking here being like, oh, this is a network that I know. This is a network that I know. That's what she made it seem like, okay? And then she would make Facebook groups with like 30 people in it. She was all of those 30 people talking to one Kirat.
But you know what the even scarier part is? The damn Skype calls.
The Skype calls.
So Kirat would be on Skype with Bobby, aka her cousin Simran, all night long. Like she would fall asleep with the Skype on.
And this is what happened. When Simran showed up at her door, Kirat is losing her mind. She's like having a panic attack. She was like, I was gonna black out. And she's like, then she called one of her best friends.
Yeah, who was across the street.
Yeah, so her best friend came and then at this point, she even describes it in the podcast. She's like, imagine my front door and there's a little area in my front door. She's like, I'm on the ground with my best friend and Simran is sitting on the stairs looking out at the front door. And she's like, we're just looking at her like, why did you do it? Why did you do it? And she goes, you did it to yourself.
Ooh! She's like, she was like, you ruined my entire life. And she's like, you ruined your life yourself.
Yeah.
The way I would have, I can't.
And then they went on to talk about so many things. Like she would look at her like, who was I sleeping at night with? And she's like, me. Can you just?
Okay, forget that. Listen to this violation, okay?
Oh my God.
There is obviously, you're in a romantic relationship with someone. You're obviously going to say things, okay, potentially like
some R-rated content
things probably were being said, okay? Because in the documentary, they asked her and they were like, hey, like, did you guys ever have like a sexual relationship? Okay. And she said, oh, like, why are you asking me that? I'm not going to answer that kind of thing, which she shouldn't have to answer that. But then obviously, like, this is an obvious thing, okay? You're gonna say certain things, okay? Now, can you imagine finding out that you were vulnerable like that with your girl cousin?
That's crazy.
And the fact
who was significantly younger. Okay, So the thing is, in the podcast episode, so Netflix episode left us hanging.
Yeah,
y'all.
it did, y'all.
So here's what I felt about the Netflix episode. I felt like it was so I was hooked. Right? Detail after detail. Like Geeta telling her story, pulling out the messages, having these Facebook pages. Like I was really in it. I was really in it. And then she starts describing what happened. And then when she met Simran and when she found out, and then the episode ended. And I was like, what kind of nonsense
Show me who Simran
is this?
and show me who Simran is.
Or just tell me what happened.
Yeah.
That's it. She just looked at you and said, you did it to yourself. And that was it. They literally ended the episode. And I was like, you gave me so much. And then so little in that 1 hour.
But then they wrote that, you know how they write, at the end of the episode, Simran refuses to comment on blah, blah, blah. And I'm like...
Right. But this is what I'm trying to say. Guys, if you listen to the podcast episode, in episode 6, they give you more. Oh. Okay, so yes, she refuses to do that. Yes, she lawyered up. She lawyered up good. So guess what? Obviously, Kirat lawyered up too.
Yeah.
There aren't any laws for... there's identity violation laws in the UK, but there's not so much about catfishing, right? Because when you go and talk about catfishing to any authority, they kind of take it as like even the word itself, kind of a joke, right? It's like you got pranked.
Yeah, basically
that's
what
literally what it is.
That's what it is.
So there wasn't anything to help Geeta in that situation. Nobody was really taking her seriously, but she found a few people. She lawyered up, okay, and they filed a suit against her, and she comes back. Her lawyers come back. When I say guns blazing, you know what they said? They said, Kirat knew this whole time and was grooming her younger cousin. That was their argument. Yeah.
Shut the front door.
Yeah. So this is why I felt like the Netflix series didn't do it for me. I'm also a podcast listener, so it really hit home. But was what the lawyers came back with. And then they argued back and forth. And then Simran finally decided that she'll settle on certain conditions.
Yeah, they did say that. They said that she would say.
And the way her conditions is that she's going to give a private apology.
Yeah.
Private apology to Kirat. Wow. Okay. And some sort of settlement money. They never dropped how much it was or whatever. Yeah. Okay. And Kirat again felt like, and she said this on the podcast, that she literally controls everything. She wants a private apology and she's like, I wanted a public apology, but it's like she's still controlling in this relationship.
Wow. Yeah.
So then what they ended up doing was they made it an apology where Kirat can share it with 30 people. Mm-hmm. Because she's like, I really had to prove to certain people in my life, especially my parents. She's like, I'm so embarrassed. And she's like, my parents are looking at me like, what did you do for the last 9 years? How did you get roped into this? Right. Yeah. And so she's like, I had to let them know that literally this is what it was.
Yeah.
So Simran wrote one apology letter.
Yeah.
Okay. Kirat was like, no. Edited it.
Yeah.
And was like, this is the apology letter.
Yeah.
Simran approved of that. Okay.
So she wrote her own goddamn
apology letter.
Yeah.
Okay. She gives it to the 30 people. Her dad reads it. Honestly, at this point, they're like, it doesn't really matter. It is what it is. Move on with your life. That's how a lot of people in her immediate circle are now reacting. Okay. But then the original apology letter that Simran wrote, Kirat was like, it's the first time that I felt like there was actually any emotion coming out of her.
Wow.
And she was like, because that wasn't the one that was selected, I can share that.
Yeah.
But she's like, she can't share most of it, but she can share the gist of it. So she actually shares the gist of it in the last episode of the podcast. And it was very much so I know that I hurt you. I apologize. It was that kind of an apology letter where there was a bit more emotion. Whereas honestly, since this whole thing has unraveled, I haven't heard any emotional side from Simran. It's crazy.
Is she okay?
What's your theory on her?
You want to know something? Okay, so I found out listening to the podcast that Bobby's brother JJ passed away. Okay. So this is my thought, even though they had broken up, I feel like she was just a little bit not fully there because you cannot do things like that and be stable mentally. Something is wrong with you. Honestly,
okay,
that's treacherous.
So the brother didn't die. It was all fake.
The flip?
Yeah. And so the real Bobby did some investigating, okay, and found out that she said that that JJ had passed away and all this stuff. Guys, JJ never passed away.
But JJ.
And so when they did a deeper dive, they started finding out that Simran had done catfishing before, and she catfished JJ multiple times when they were actually in a relationship.
By pretending to be a girl, obviously to see if she would cheat on him.
No, she pretended to be a cousin. and said, Simran got into a car accident. She's in the ICU. You need to come see her, because at that time JJ had went back to India. You need to come see her. She's in this condition, da 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 da. And then Bobby was like, because JJ went and confided in his brother, and Bobby was like, okay, but I can't find any records that she's like in any hospital or whatever. Just hold on. He kind of had a more of a smarter.
Yeah, because isn't he like a cardiologist or something? Was he, or is he not?
I don't know if he is in real life.
Oh my!
I actually don't know if he is. Somebody clarify this for us.
But because that could be true, because when we were watching it, Simran would share pictures of Bobby like he was living some life of luxury. But when the real Bobby saw, he's like, that's not even my life. Like I live a very simple life.
Yeah. And they also found out that when Simran was in high school, a couple of her friends came out. They were like totally anonymous and whatever, but they said that she would make fake pictures of herself on her own Facebook, and then she would have other people, like the same people, commenting and liking. And she's like, we kind of noticed it was always the same people saying the same comments under her photos. And then she's like, we would find out that all these images were from Google, because she's like, we were like 14, 15, 16 at the time. We'd be like, how is she traveling so much? Like none of this made sense. And she's like, when we asked her, we caught her red-handed because we found some images of her on Google, like through Google. And she was like, no, I'm sorry. Like I didn't mean it. And she actually got caught with her friends doing stuff like this.
Okay, then in that case, after you have clarified this, she is a freaking pathological liar.
Yeah.
She's a psycho. Sorry, I'm gonna say it. Something's wrong with her. I don't know. Maybe it's like she just wants attention all the time because she lacked attention. I don't know what it is. Because if you are going to go to that length, huge.
So I have a few theories.
Yeah, tell me your theories. I want to know.
So one, I feel like maybe she's going through like an identity crisis.
For that long?
Yeah. You know why?
Goodness.
Because guys, for like 9 years, she pretended to be a man. Okay. And I feel like maybe she's going through something. And because you can never talk about it in our community, this was her alpha identity online.
So you think that's who she really was?
Like that's who she's always wanted to be? That's just my theory. That's one theory. Okay. My second one is she's low-key obsessed with Kirat. Because on the podcast, they said that there was a moment where where Simran once said, oh, like, you know, when I saw you, like you were this great personality, and like it was somebody that maybe she latched onto as an obsession. Okay. And she didn't want Kirat to be with anybody else. So she held on to her.
Yeah, but maybe she just felt like Kirat was an easy target.
It could be that too. That's another theory.
Because I just feel like you can latch onto someone's person. Like in my sense, I'm thinking maybe she just liked the fact that Kirat was just 100% herself. She had this like radio show that she would host. She would do all these things. Maybe it was like her family was a lot more like, you can't do this, you can't do that. Because if you're posting pictures of yourself on vacations and doing this and doing that, so obviously you want people to see you in a different way from who you are.
Yeah. So here's my other theory. On the podcast, there was a moment where Simran said to Kirat, like, you know, at the time that this all happened, I was in a dark place and like you were in a dark place. And this virtual reality that I created for the two of us brought us happiness and joy. And that, I don't know why, has just like stuck with me, where I feel like she was so delusional in her head, where she thought that she created this world that brought them happiness the times that they were together online, away from like the real world. And Kirat went back and said, what Simran never understood was that world never brought me joy.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, but that to me is like, there's something mentally wrong with you that you think that.
Yep.
So they shared pictures of Simran on TikTok, obviously, because the TikTok sleuths be sleuthing. Okay.
TikTok police is on it.
But now everybody's like, every Simran is shady. And I'm like, that's so unfair.
So, you know, there's an actor they hired for the Netflix show, and people went after her.
Yeah.
And she had to come on multiple times on her social media being like, I'm not the real Simran. I'm an actor. I was hired. I allowed them to use my photo. It's all fake. So y'all careful. All right.
Yeah.
Do your due diligence when you're doing this research.
But you know what else I heard?
Well,
this is hearsay, that the real Simran is like she's like a freaking some high up.
She's a VP. She's a VP
like
at a
Barclays bank.
Yeah. So she's a VP at a bank. And this is the other. So in the podcast, they actually shared this with a lot of like professional psychologists, right?
Yeah.
And they were so intrigued in the story because they're like, okay, so she is the golden child in her family.
Yeah.
And Kirat says this too. She was the one who always got good grades.
Yeah.
She was the one who always excelled in everything. She was always like top of her class. And then she graduated, and then she like got a job and then climbed up the ladder, made her way to VP for a bank. 29, engaged, traveling, living her life, like really, really just a golden child. Okay. And then they were like, she portrayed that, but on the other end, this is why I'm talking about the identity crisis that she might be experiencing, because on the other end, this is maybe what she actually wanted to be doing. This is the kind of life she actually wanted to be experiencing or living, and she was able to do it online. But apparently she's like left her position or whatever.
I'm freaking shocked.
It was just my theories, yo. All right.
It is definitely an identity crisis, because I feel like she, or some type of, it's a crisis. But you know what I'm also thinking? She was like this golden child, listened to everything her parents said, excelled in everything, did everything. It could also be that she was just like sick and tired of being that golden child. You know what I'm saying?
And a lot of,
for some people, they don't even know how to balance it.
yeah. And a lot of the psychologists on the podcast will be like, it's also that she shows no empathy, no remorse, no
That's
consequences.
why I think she's,
yeah, no consequences for her actions. So there's all of that too. And on top of that, it's also this play on power. And she had control in this relationship, right? And all she wanted to do was be able to control Geeta's every move, which she did. And that brought her some sort of,
okay, but you want to know something else? There's also the other side of it. Like, why did Geeta let it continue?
So here's the thing. Honestly, sometimes I go back and I'm like, so naive. Let's get our head on straight. Come on,
now.
you're an educated woman. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then when I hear her talk and defend herself, she'd be like, you guys don't understand. There were multiple times that I wanted to leave. And I said it constantly. And she wouldn't let me.
It's not the fact of the leaving thing, because I think
Bobby wouldn't let her.
Yeah, and I think that is normal in regular relationships where it's hard to leave. That's not even my issue. My thing was just like, in this day and age, right? And I know like catfishing happens, but I'm just like, all this time passed. In 8-9 years, you didn't even want to be like, I just want to give this man a hug. I want to hold his hand.
Yes, I agree. Also, like, the way I see it is, she never thought she was being catfished. You know that, right?
Yeah.
She never in her wildest dreams thought that this is somebody fake. She always thought that he is just not committing to me. That's what you also need to understand. I feel like we all know that she was being catfished because we know the story now.
Yeah.
She just kept thinking she's in love with this man and in a relationship with this man who is actually just living his life with his ex-wife. That's all she thought. Right? And so,
I know.
Yes, she played I feel like there's lots of ways that this could go. There's so many layers, but imagine this. Imagine for 1 second, okay? That you block and delete Bobby.
Yeah.
Block and delete him off Facebook. You're like, nope. We're done. Skype blocked. Instagram blocked. Everything is blocked. Every single person around his network is going to contact you, and it's all her.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're right.
So JJ passed away, but like the ex-wife will message you. The doctors will message you. The cousins will message you. The friends will message you. And then what? She'd rope you back in. She created a world of Geeta and everybody, and she was the one person controlling
your mind,
everyone.
you would sit there and be like, okay, if one person is fake, 60 other people can't be fake.
Yeah.
You would justify it.
Exactly.
But in my mind, I'm still like, if I'm gonna marry somebody, I'm not even gonna see you. You're not gonna take me out anywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna have this pretend relationship. I just as who I am as a person, I don't think I could do that.
And apparently her mom had called her out and been like, why does Bobby sound so feminine?
Yeah. And then Geeta got mad at her mom.
Yeah.
Because she was like, oh, like you're being so like, you know,
judgy. He's been through so much. But you know, we are guilty of this.
Yeah.
How many times have we said, like, you'll have a friend, your mom will call out that friend and you get so defensive. You're like, you never let me have any friends. She's such a good friend to me. Where's da 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 da? And your mom, and then like 2 years later, you're not friends anymore. And your mom's like, I told you so.
And then Simran even said while she was being Bobby that like, oh, like don't tell your dad yet because the dad knows everyone in the community and the dad would have like gone talk to the family.
100%. I can't believe the dad didn't know for 9 years.
Yo, if there was one part that really upset me, it was the parents. That broke my heart. It made me sad for Geeta too, because I was like, yo, that's so messed up for somebody to do that. Especially if it's like, it's one thing if it's a rando.
Yeah.
When it's your freaking cousin.
That's crazy.
But I'll be honest with you. If my cousin did me dirty like that, I'm not even gonna lie. She would be at my doorstep and I would beat the living daylights out of her.
It's all right. Listen, we'd all just go to Penn. It's fine.
I'm not even
I've
joking.
already wasted 9 years. I'm not going to have
You'd be my
kids.
friend across the street.
Sucks.
I'd be like, Uruje, can you buy over here? I don't think I could handle myself.
The way hair would be pulled.
She would have no hair left. Okay. Like I would not be okay.
And it's okay. I will take the fall for it. You already wasted a decade of my life. It's all good.
I'd be in jail. There goes another God knows how long. I'd be in jail.
Yeah. It'd be worth it though.
It'd be worth it. It'd be worth it. But for me, it's like, listen, if somebody did that to me, somebody did that to my friend, my sister, and I find out you're the shady cousin that did that, there is a line you don't cross. At that point, it's like you've been beating me down for 10 years. Now, if I throw one at your face, you deserve it.
Also, like, there are consequences to your actions.
Absolutely.
If you are going to do something, this is the problem that I can't sit with, is the fact that I feel like nothing was done enough for Simran to understand the consequences of her actions.
Yeah, but it's
a private apology. That's it. That's it.
That's it. And you know what? This to bring it back to like being desi girls, okay? This goes two ways. For Kira, this goes in the way of like, because we've always been raised to be these like rule followers, people pleasers, where it's like we are supposed to be these serving women to men, okay? And I'm not here being like feminism. I'm not saying it because of that, but I'm saying the problem with a lot of us desi girls is like we have a hard time questioning men. Like if someone is disrespecting you consistently, it's almost like if they rope you back in and give you a few I love yous, you run right back because you're like, oh my God, but I love you too, but I love you too. But in reality, they've been disrespecting you. They've been bringing you down. Physically, you're not doing well. Mentally, you're gone. Okay. He's taking you away from all the things that you love. Your radio show. He's telling you you can't talk to other guys. He's telling you can't do this. You can't talk to that. You can't do that. If somebody is taking you away from all these things that bring you joy, I'm not saying talk to guys as in like, oh yeah, I love talking to men all the time. But I mean like if in work you have a male colleague that you're talking to, right? That's something that a man should not have to feel so insecure about that. There is a lack of like awareness when it comes to a lot of desi girls that we don't know how to respect ourselves enough to be like, no. You know what? I gave you a chance and you were disrespectful. So good day to you. I don't need you in my life because we have never been taught that. We've always been taught to like listen, follow rules, go above and beyond for everyone, especially when it comes to like a guy you want to be with. You know, forgive because you know what? You need to be the soft, forgiving wife or like the soft, forgiving girlfriend. And then you let shit slide. Like it makes me sad. But then I'm also like, Simran, the flip.
Guys, I can't get over what I cannot even wrap my head around is how quick she was with tech at that time. You guys, this started when there was no other social media platform. There was like maybe MySpace. Okay. She was able to create this virtual world. Okay. Email after email after email. How many emails did she create to create a Facebook page? Okay. And then curate that person's world. Pictures, friends, connections. How did she manage to do all of that? How did she manage to stay on the phone with Geeta all night and still manage to have a full-time job and go to school and get good grades? How was she, as a single person, able to have the capacity to uphold this massive lie? That is what I just can't wrap my head around.
So when you guys say you don't have enough time in the day, think of Simran. Think of Simran. Get your ass back to work. Because that's the goddamn truth. If she can make 60 fake profiles, go through people's pictures and stalk them, okay? Then you definitely have enough time in the day because she is now the VP of Barclays Bank. Now has left. However, she has mad time in her life, okay?
Yo, next time I'm driving and I'm tired or I'm complaining about tiredness on the podcast, you just set me straight.
Be a
Simran.
Simran.
Think of Simran.
Don't be a Simran, but think of Simran.
Think of Simran.
I don't even understand. I bet Barclays was like, see you later, girl.
Woo!
I cannot.
Yeah. I think when the podcast came out, a lot of things started coming up, but the Netflix series just released, and I feel like that is what's really getting.
But you know what? Geeta, secure that bag, girl.
Facts.
Get it.
Facts.
Get it. We'd love to formally invite you onto our podcast because we just want to know what's popping.
You coming to Toronto anytime soon?
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
We'll make an extra cup of jaw for you. Okay.
Dabo la cake ras.
And Simran, if you want to come on, we'll host you too.
मैं तो डरती हूँ से रहने दो उसको ना बुलाओ इधर.
She's gonna come here and then she's gonna hijack our podcast and be like, I created Okay Mom.
Girl, she would bring some kind of device that would take over everything.
We would just want her here to teach us her work ethic. That's it.
Yo, imagine if she did it in this day and age with all of AI available.
She could.
That's nuts.
It's freaking nuts. But
She's
you know,
kind of scares me.
that's
man.
what scares me, because I feel like, you know, sometimes when you're lonely and you like somebody gives you attention, like sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, when I thought of this story, I felt like when Kirat would talk about Bobby, right? Just in the context of like, oh, knowing his family and like his family was really wealthy and like well off and blah, 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 blah. She would talk about him in a way of like, oh my God, that's like almost unattainable for me. You know what I mean?
Cardiologist.
So it's like, out of her league, unattainable, right? So when someone like that gives you attention, you are like melting. Like, oh my God, I am worthy of that attention. It comes back to like how much you love yourself a lot, even though it's very hard, because I think all of us, like if a celeb that you really crush on is like, hey, Uruje, let me take you on it. Even you would be like, or like for me, I'd be like, whoa, like, oh, I would never have expected that.
It's the nerd cheerleader complex.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I think some part of it comes from that too, where she was getting attention, affection, love from someone at a time in her life where she was in a relationship that was not good for her. And then when someone nurtured that side of her and gave her a lot of love and affection and started to fill her cup in whatever way at the beginning, it was like, you eat that up, man. As girls, you're like, oh my God, this is what I always wanted. This is all I wanted. You know what
Especially because somebody who is a very abusive and controlling individual, they will hook you in first. They'll get your claws in, okay? And they'll realize this is the stuff that's going to get me to get in this relationship, and it's going to persuade this other person to follow me, right? Slowly here and there. Good morning, this. Oh, what are you doing? Da 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 da. And then you feel like, oh, somebody actually cares.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me if I had time to do this today. Somebody asked me if I could send them a picture. Do I look nice? You're asking for all of these little, you know, when you want praises from people because you think it's like the likes system.
Yeah.
Like, how many likes did I get? Oh my God, I posted a picture.
It's like a rush of endorphins.
Yeah. And so when you get that, but you've been in a real relationship for 18 years that was super toxic. Mind you, she was in a relationship for 18 years with somebody else.
Yeah.
On and off, right? By 18 years, your honeymoon phase is over.
Oh, it's done. It's
right? And then you're introduced to somebody where the honeymoon phase has just started. So obviously you're going to pick the person who's giving you all 100%. Of that you are missing from the 18-year relationship. Yeah. Right?
Plus, she was also like venting to him about all the hard times in her life because he was venting about the hard times in his life.
In his non-existent
life. I also felt bad for Bobby because I'm like, Bajada Bobby. Like, he's like, why are you dragging me into this mess?
Facts.
Nobody's going to say the name Bobby without thinking of this Bobby.
Facts.
Is and a good thing or a bad thing?
Apparently he's the true victim here.
Well, that's what the police said too.
From like a legal
identity
perspective.
Theft.
Yeah.
It's identity theft. It's also like scary because he has a child and his child's pictures were like sent over the internet. Like that's so messed up for somebody to take your child's picture and be like, oh yeah, this is my son and da 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 da. Like, come on, man. Like, what the hell's wrong with people?
The way she would manipulate Kirat to buy clothing,
right?
That the baby was already wearing, add to cart. Oh, let's ship it off. And then a few weeks later, you're sending me a picture of your baby in that onesie?
Shameful, yo. Shameful.
I can't even wrap my head around it.
I can't.
Anyways, for those of you who have not yet watched the show, you just watched it right now with us on this podcast.
Yeah. And guys, share your thoughts and opinions. If you haven't seen it and if you haven't listened to the podcast, make sure you do. I'm going to finish the podcast.
Yeah. Even if you guys already know the story from us because we spoiled the entire thing, please take a listen and watch the show. It is actually really intriguing.
It's insane.
Yeah. Also,
my jaw was on the floor.
Yeah, mine too. I'm still sweeping it up. You have any final thoughts?
Don't be a Simran.
But also her work ethic?
God damn Simran. Follow the work ethic, but not the brain.
Also, Kirat, we hope you're doing well.
Yes, 100%. Honestly, my heart goes out to her because it's like, if I had spent, it is, man, 30s are like part of your prime years. You've like kind of like not given anyone else a chance because you know when you love someone, you're like, no, I want to put all of my love into this one piece of, I don't want to swear, but I want to. Yeah, I want to put all my love into one person. So even if other people were there being like, hey, let me take you out, you'd be like, no, because I have my person. Okay. I have my Facebook person, Bobby. Okay. And then this happens. Like,
you know what else sucks? I feel like in your 30s, maybe you and I have experienced this a bit. personally, is when you actually discover yourself, is when you actually stop the people pleasing, when you actually put yourself first, when you're a little bit more selfish, when you can say what you want to say and you are like, you know what, it's okay, I'm not really worried about the consequences. For somebody to strip that away from you makes me sad, because you could have spent your 30s finding out who you truly are. And if you had a real partner, you could have found that out together. And it just makes me really sad, because I know that on the show she was talking about how she wanted to have kids and create this life for herself together. She had so much pressure to get married, which we've all experienced. We know, we understand that, right? And she had so much going for her with her radio show and hosting these people. And, you know, she had so much set up for herself. And it really does make me sad that those years were taken away from you. But I hope that you get to experience and cherish all of that in your 40s. You look great.
Yeah.
You got a great show going. Get that bag. And we hope that it brings you more success.
Yeah. And I think to what you said, like the sad part for me was at the end of the documentary, she was like, you know, I've always wanted kids. I've always loved kids. And now I don't know if that's like going to be something in my future. And I was like, no amount of money that girl like Simran could have given her would fill that void.
Because you can't bring time back.
Because you can't. Yeah. And so for me, it's like, you didn't just take like years from someone's life. You literally took the life from their years. Like you literally did. Like you took everything from them. You took their, and can you imagine, Uruje, like her going into a different relationship and being able to be vulnerable when you have been so traumatized? How the hell do you open up to anyone? On top of that, it's like now you are a public figure. Now everybody knows your story. Imagine the judgment that comes with that, right? Then the pressures from your parents, like they may not say it. They may be like, okay, yeah, like I'm sorry this happened. But internally, you don't know, man. People, the whole world is out here judging you because the story is now public, right? It's just sad because it's like, this is the length that someone has to go to like clear their name, because this in a way is like you having to clear your name, because the people in your circle that knew what happened are probably doing your best up front, left and center, especially in the Desi community. They're not going to let you live it down.
Listen, our community, and this is why I understand why she wanted the apology letter to be showcased to at least 30 people, so she can pick and choose and tell them like, hey, listen,
this is what happened.
Yeah, I love how they're victim blaming.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is going to go on for a really long time. I'm sorry, but why are they victim blaming her? Why are they turning the tables on her? Like, I understand even you and I were like, oh, it's a bit naive. It's a bit this, it's a bit that. But we've also been in the social media world for a very long time. We were there when Facebook started. We were there when Instagram started. We were there when Instagram was a photos app. Yeah. Right? We were there when TikTok like blew up. Snapchat blew up. We were there for all of that. Okay. She was there in the beginning. And in the beginning on Facebook, if you had 2 accounts, it was a big deal.
Yo, facts.
If you had 2 accounts, you're like, oh, damn, like this is getting hard to manage. Because like one's just for my family. Yeah. And one is for everybody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And back then you'd be like, oh, but for somebody to curate an entire digital world and have you trapped in the middle of it, I cannot believe that we are now victim blaming and turning the tables on her.
Yeah. I just find it so crazy that Simran even had the power to be like, sorry, the apology is not going to be public. Like, how dare you take from someone's life and then be like, sorry, the apology is not going to be public. And then you actually get away with that. That's the messed up thing. So in that sense, even though I think Geeta put herself in a very vulnerable spot to be like, I'm telling the damn world, I still say mad credit to you, because ultimately at the end of the day, like she might have had to do the 30-person apology the way she did, but now it's like everybody's like, girl, we're burning you at the stake. Like, are you serious? You think you're just gonna get away with that and like do whatever you're doing and think, oh yeah, I got away scot-free? No, like I'm sorry, not at this level. You don't take 10 years from someone's life and be like, sorry, bye-bye, here's 30, here's a piece of paper with the apology. I thought it was going to be like, I'm sitting down in front of the 30 and being like, I want to apologize for da-da-da-da. A letter does not suffice.
So Geeta wanted a public apology, but she came back with that. That was her condition. Does not suffice.
And then she rewrote the damn apology. Yeah. It ain't even an apology.
It's wild.
And then Simran even said to Bobby, when she called Bobby. Yeah. And she was like, hey, I just want to say that it was me. She told the real Bobby that she was the fake Bobby. Okay. And then she's like, I know I need to get some like help and like get some therapy, but do you mind not taking it to the police? And Bobby's like, sorry, brother, I ain't doing that. Rightfully so. And I'm like, you're so dumb.
Do you know, Simran's entire family also came over and had a conversation with Geeta's family, and the parents were saying the same thing. The parents were like, listen, like we will get her all the help you need. Geeta will give you whatever you need, money, this, that. Just don't don't let this get out. That's what
because
they wanted.
they don't want the bestie. But you want to know something? Obviously, if you have raised a child whose main goal in life is to be number one, top tier, can't say no to you guys, can't do anything outside of the line of this, shit like this is going to happen. This is why you don't set unrealistic expectations for your kids and make them these golden geese, because it is not freaking possible. Nobody's perfect. Stop with this. This is a desi community problem. We do not need to receive top tier A+ accolades all the time because we are not perfect. You do your best. You instill those values in your kids. Be the best you can be. And if by chance you do get a B, it's okay. If you don't become the VP, that is also okay. You try your best to be the best at what you can do, but it shouldn't be to a point where you're like, if you don't do this, then you're going to be like, I'm going to disown you or whatever it is. Because I feel like somebody with that level of like A in everything, this, like, she's like top of the class, she's like the golden child in this, she's like the sometimes I feel like that comes from a place of like immense pressure from the families.
I really want to know her side.
I want to know her side too, but yeah, I don't know if I don't know, girl. I don't know if I could.
Because like, what if things come out and there's some things from her side that...
But you know what? That's the truth, Uruje. There probably is certain things.
There's got to be like some kind of traumatic event.
And you know what? People go through a lot of trauma. Like if I really sit here and I'm like, it's easy to like bash, right? Which we've been doing for the last 5 minutes. But you're right. You're right. You are right, because we don't know her side of the story. Okay, I don't want to feel bad for her because I'm super upset what happened, but I still think there is a little bit of naivety with what Geeta did.
Yeah,
there is a lot, not a little, a lot. Okay, but I also think on the flip side of it, there's a reason why Simran acted the way she did. Something has happened to her, which is why she behaved the way she did.
I'm just saying, Joker wasn't created overnight.
And it always comes back to family stuff, guys. It always comes back. Not saying she's a serial killer, but there's a little bit of something ain't right. But what majority of serial killers that are like that, when you look into their life and how they were raised up, there's always something related to family and how you were raised, which is why you behave in the manner that you behave. I would say the similar thing, that she's a product of her environment. Something has happened that she felt like she could do something like this. Anyway, guys, that's our extra bonus episode of the week. You know, when we have certain things coming out like this, we do like to just give you a little extra spice for your weekend. So I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah. And we'll find you on Wednesday.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Mom.